The St. Louis Cardinals get 6 no-hit innings from their starter and still lose as the offense goes silent in an excruciating 13-inning loss to the Pirates.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily St. Louis Cardinals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, Cardinals fans. I'm JD Hafford, and I'm your host for Locked On Cardinals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. You can follow me on X at JD Sports Radio. You can also follow the podcast at LO_Cardinals. We're also on YouTube. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Hit that notification button so you don't miss out on anything. And we're also available on TikTok and Instagram at Locked On Cardinals. This is a show serving Cardinal Nation and giving the best fans in baseball all of the info about the birds on the bat. Today's episode brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. So the St. Louis Cardinals cannot find balance so far in 2025. Like Mr. Miyagi used to say to Danielson, must find balance. Must find balance. And so far, outside of that series against the Minnesota Twins, which feels like it was 6 months ago, there has been very little balance for this team. The offense, which has been outstanding for the most part, at least through the first 11 games of the season, most nights they've been good. And then the pitching staff has been the one that's been not so good. So, of course, in Wednesday's series deciding game, the roles get completely reversed. And the pitching staff was outstanding. And the offense finally had a bad day at the offense. So you can understand the frustration with everybody. Coaching staff, the manager, team, the fans, like everybody's like, ugh. The Cardinals 3-0 start of the year is fully in the rearview mirror. Brutal road trip. Just wrapped up a brutal road trip that saw them drop 5 of 6. And overall, they've now lost 7 of their last 9. This game was certainly winnable on Wednesday, but the offense ends up going 3 for 15 with runners in scoring position. They strand 11. That has not been the case for the most part of the season. The offense was coming through again and again, making up for the pitching inadequacies that continue to haunt them. But not on Wednesday. The Cardinals scored just 1 run on 7 hits in 13 innings of baseball with ghost runners sitting out there at second base. Still couldn't get these guys in. Lars Nootbaar has cooled off big time since his hot start. He was 0 for 5 on Wednesday, now 1 for his last 19. Only has 3 walks in that time too, so he's not getting on base in that fashion. When the Cardinals offense was humming along in the first few series of the season, it all started with Newt at the top of the order. Remember, we're all like, Newt, greatest leadoff hitter ever. You knew it was going to cool off eventually. It's part of the ups and downs of the season. We know that. But he's hit a cold spell. And with him and then Wilson Contreras batting second, not so good for the offense, right? Contreras was 1 for 6 today, but his 1 hit traveled 15 feet. It was because there was 2 big plays at home plate today that involved the Cardinals runner being called out. This one was the weird pop-up play in the 8th inning where the Cardinals had first and second. There was 2 out. Willie pops it up, home run in a silo type of idea. And it's right in front of the plate. And so everybody starts converging towards home plate. And the first baseman and the catcher end up colliding, trying to make the catch, and the ball pops free. Now, the runners, because there's 2 outs, runners are going on contact. So the guys on first and second, they're, cruising around the bases. They're running. And Sajacy was your runner on second base. And when the collision happens, Sajacy, it's right in front of him. Right in front of him. That's, how far he had come. So, he's hustling. It's not like he was loafing or anything. And the collision happens right in the baseline between third and home. So he's got to avoid this car wreck of people that's sitting there in the base paths And when he goes to touch the plate, Pirates third baseman Ke'Bryan Hayes shows great awareness. Props to him on this play. And the pitcher at the time, because he's pointing at the ball. He's like, get the ball. And Ke'Bryan grabs it and is able to tag out Ciani before he can touch home plate. And I'm not blaming anyone on this play. There were people who were upset with how Ciani handled the play. And I'm like, I honestly have never seen that before. Like, when was the last time you saw somebody rounding third, coming home, and then the pop-up happens, people run into each other, and the ball, and they're right in front of you, like they're blocking everything. The Cardinals even asked if this was an obstruction play, and apparently that's not reviewable. And the ump said no. And they were trying to field the ball. It's not like they just laid down there on purpose. Like, everybody was trying to get the ball. Like, so I was fine that there was no call there. And I guess in the future, you can tell Ciani that, like, okay, next time, go on the outside of the base paths instead of going on the inside, which made it easier for Hayes to reach out and tag him. But it's not like they practice this in spring training. They don't practice this anywhere. It's just a weird play that happened, and it was goofy. It had a goofy outcome, and it ended the inning, and it went the Pirates' way instead of the Cardinals. So I'm not putting any blame on anybody there. Everybody was kind of doing what they were supposed to be doing. It just didn't work out. But that was the only hit for Contreras, whose struggles continue. 1 for 14 in this series. He's hitting 102 on the season. He has no home runs, 3 RBIs, and he has struck out 22 times with just 2 walks. And Ollie continues to put him in the number 2 spot of the order, hoping he'll break out. Remember, he had a couple hits in that last game in Boston, and so maybe he was like, all right, maybe Willie's starting to bust out of this, and he went right back into his hitting coma in this series. And it's been a glaring hole in the order, and so now you got 2 big holes going on because Newt's not hitting or getting on. Contreras isn't hitting or getting on, so the 2 top spots of your order, not good. Not good over the last few games. Nolan Arenado was 0 for 4 in this game. He was 1 for 7 in the series after sitting out on Monday. Mason Wynn was 0 for 4 in this game, but we've seen him getting better and better as time has gone on. Even the Red Hat Brendan Donovan had a cold day today. He was 1 for 5 at a hit in his first at bat, but then 0 for 4 after that. And you can't just put all the blame on the Cardinals here. Give some credit to the Pirates pitching staff. Starter Mitch Keller has been a really good starter in this league for a couple years now, and he was good today. Him and the rest of the company, they just got the outs when they needed them. Although they did get a little help from third base coach Pop Warner in extra innings, top of the 10th inning. And I don't often get mad at third base coaches. I don't often do that. But I was fuming after this particular play. We'll discuss it next on Locked On Cardinals. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Then crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. So if you're somebody who is trying to shed a few pounds, you're trying to snack healthy, Wonderful Pistachios is a great way to do it because it's a lot of good for you stuff going in your body, and it's not you eating, potato chips or, some sort of bad for you snack. Now, I'm a guy that prefers to not go with the shells. I like it in the green bag, and I can just stick my hand in there and go to town on it. That doubleheader against the Red Sox on Sunday, I ate a whole bag of the no shells variety of Wonderful Pistachios, and I'm proud of it because they're good. So you can have them too. It's a great way to get a quick protein boost. Also provide you all 9 essential amino acids, and they're delicious. That's the great part about it. It's not like you're putting something nasty in your body. It tastes good, and they're good for you. So get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Thank you again for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. You can leave your comments on YouTube as well as on X anytime you want. Your feedback is always welcome and encouraged. I'm sure we're going to get a few people who are a little upset with how things went Just not only on Wednesday, but just in the series in general against the Pirates, who, I'm sorry, but you look at that lineup and the Cardinals should not be losing to the Pirates. Especially when you're beating Paul Skeens in one of those games, you should not be losing a series to the Pirates. It's unacceptable. And Wednesday was a really tough loss. It was a bad one. Both offenses were sputtering. Again, you can give credit to the pitching staffs on both sides too, because Cardinals' pitching staff was really good too. But they go to extra innings and they're tied 0-0. You know, runs are hard to come by in this one. Not a lot of offense. Extra innings, of course, you get that ghost runner at second base, which most people think is a stupid role. But the idea of it, I get it, because you're trying to save pitching staffs. You're hoping you're not going to see these 18, 19 inning long games where, you know, you're depleting an entire pitching staff in your bullpen and it's all for just like one game. I get it, but at the same time, not a lot of people love it. I'm not a huge fan of it. I think it's kind of lame, but it's part of the game right now. So I would gladly trade that rule in for the ABS today if we could. I would do that in a heartbeat, make that deal. But that's not what's going on right now. So you got a ghost runner, top of the 10th inning. Michael Ciani is the ghost runner for the Cardinals. He's on second base. Very good speed, right? One of the big traits that kept Michael Ciani on this roster. Defense, and he can run. He's got good speed. There's nobody out. Pedro Pages, your catcher, up at the plate, and he hits a shallow single to left field. Just kind of a nice, easy line drive to left field. Not a lot of steam on it. Directly at the left fielder, former Cardinal Tommy Pham. And there he is waiting on it. It falls in front of Tommy Pham. Again, very shallow left field. I'm going to put a picture up on the screen here of where this looks. Okay? That's how shallow it was. All right? So not very deep at all. And as you can see in this picture, Tommy Pham is, charging the ball, doing everything pretty normal. And whether you want to call it over-aggressiveness or plain stupidity, third base coach Pop Warner sends Michael Ciani home on this play. And Michael Ciani is thrown out by, 10, 15 feet, maybe worse. Like, it's not even close. And you can see in this photo, Michael Ciani is at the bottom of the screen there. Tommy Pham about to get the ball. Ciani is like in between second and third still. He's not even at third base yet. And I don't care if it's Usain Bolt on second place in this spot. Nobody was scoring on this play unless the left fielder kicks the ball, just completely misses it. But any normal left fielder is going to charge this and make the play. Again, not a hard ball. Like, it wasn't hit hard. So it's not like he's got to move to the left or the right and cut it off or anything. It's a nice, soft liner that's right to him. And it immediately snuffs out an inning where if Pop Warner had just been like on the bag, sit on the bag, first and third, nobody out. And there's a number of different ways where the Cardinals can score in a situation like that. Deep fly ball, wild pitch, pass ball, balk, slow roller that just finds a hole in the infield because the infield will be in that situation. But no, it's gunned at home plate. So instead, now you've got your catcher and Pages on first base, who doesn't run well. You've got one out, and the momentum completely swings back towards the Pirates. Now, there is no guarantee. Like, this didn't blow the game, okay? But at the time, it was huge. There's no guarantee that the Cardinals score, even if he holds Michael Ciani. They could strike out 3 in a row. They didn't do a double play. A million things could happen. But by God, at least give the runner a fighting chance. Like, this wasn't even close. And during the telecast, and when I hear Chip's like, they're going to send him. And I was like, I immediately popped up out of my chair, was like, no, what? Like my wife's working out in the next room and she's just like, what's going on over there? And I'm like losing my mind. I mean, Ciani isn't even at third base yet when Pham gets the ball. So you're essentially betting against Pham to make a good throw in that situation. Like he's really got to screw this up. Now, if it looks like it's going to be, because you know the timing of stuff, if you think it's going to be a bang bang play at home plate, I'm cool with that sort of aggressiveness. Make the other team make a play. I am normally on board with that 99.9% of the time. Make them make the play. But this wasn't even close. It was a huge mistake by Pop Warner, your third base coach. And fans, after I posted this picture, are pointing that, is that Ciani looking at the play? And I'm like, yeah, which is also a big no-no. Because you're supposed to be running full steam ahead, looking at your third base coach, trusting your third base coach to make the right call. And if he's saying go, 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 you're not looking back over at the left fielder. Like you're rounding hard and going home. Which also makes this play a little weird because if Ciani is looking at that play and thinks he's not going to make it, then just stop. Like you're not going to baseball jail if you stop when your third base coach is saying go home. You might catch a little bit of hell. But in that situation, the play's in front of you. You you're looking at it like, do you think you're going to make this? So just a lot of bad going on in that play, And there were some that suggested perhaps Paez should be at second base because the throw went home and he ends up staying at first. Again, not a fast runner, a very shallow left field. So I don't even know if he had time to get to second base, but he might. He might have just been caught off guard that Ciani went home in the first place. But I, like a lot of fans, I was furious after this play. Like it's just dumb. It's just bad base running. And you can point the finger at Pop Warner and Ciani in that situation. I'm going to blame the coach there. I really am. He's the one saying go, go, go. Ciani's listening to his coach. Yeah, he should have been looking at the left fielder, but he did what he was told, and he was out by a long shot. Wasn't even close. Pirates then actually returned the favor in the 11th inning. Their third base coach says, hey, Pop Warner, hold my beer. And he gets overly aggressive and tried to score on a single to right field. Newt's out there in right. Great arm, obviously. Much better than Tommy Pham's arm, but a great arm in right field. And Newt dispatched with him pretty easily. So dumb play by the Pirates, their base coach, in that situation too. Cardinals did end up getting a 1-0 lead in the 12th when Jordan Walker got a pinch hit RBI single, which was awesome to see. You love seeing a young guy like Walker coming through in the clutch, but that was all that this offense was able to muster. Pitching-wise, the Cardinals, excellent start from Erick Fedde. 6 innings, no hit baseball. No hits. He had 4 walks, kept walking the leadoff guy of every inning. He'd pitch out of it, get the double play. Cardinals turned 3 of those on the day. Great bounce back game for Erick Fedde, who had that rough outing in Boston. And everybody's like, oh, boy. Oh, boy. But I guess you could say he was effectively wild in this one. Because it wasn't like he was missing by a lot. Like he wasn't. It wasn't like he was just all over the place. And you're like, dude, this guy can't find the zone, but these guys are changing. That really wasn't the case at all. Like he was dotting. Got squeezed a few times by the home plate umpire, who had a lot of trouble with the low strikes for both teams today. It wasn't just the Cardinals who he was missing calls on. He was missing calls for the Pirates too. He called a couple of them that were out of the zone strikes, couple of them that were in the zone calls and balls. He just had a really tough time with the strike zone at the knee area. Ollie ends up pulling Fedde after the 6th inning. Pitch count at 88 there. Still had the no-hitter intact. And I know that upsets some people. Are like, how do you pull a guy who's throwing a no-hitter? But again, I'm going to say this: it's you're playing the long game here of a season. Ollie even said in the post-game media scrum, he was like, "Well, I mean, was he going to finish the game? No. I mean, it was 6 innings. It wasn't like he just finished the 8th inning or something at 88 pitches. So he wasn't going to finish that game anyway. So he decided to make the move, go to the pen. I didn't have a problem with it. It's early in the season. I'm okay with it. It didn't bother me that much. And Ollie's use of the bullpen in this game on Wednesday was pretty good until he ran out of options, right? That's really what happened, and he ended up having to go to Chris Roycroft, which he probably didn't want to do, but you get to the 13th inning, and you're down to your last guy. Maton, Leahy, Fernandez, Romero, Helsley, they all tossed scoreless innings. Maton and Leahy continue to be very impressive in the early going of this season. Maton still hasn't allowed a run in 7 appearances. Leahy hasn't given up a run since his first appearance against the Twins, so since that first appearance, 7 innings, no runs, 10 strikeouts for Kyle Leahy. He looks great. Helsley got some help from Newt on the play at home plate where he gunned out the runner thanks to the third base coach of the Pirates. But it was good to see him throwing strikes for Ryan Helsley after the debacle in Boston, which, you have something like that, and that could really mess up your mind where you're like, oh, gosh, am I going to be able to throw strikes this time or not? And he did. He came out, threw strikes. Like I said, got a little help there, but throws a scoreless inning. I'm not upset with what we saw from Steven Matz, who ends up getting saddled with the blown save after allowing a 2-out RBI single by, of course, Tommy Pham, because that's what happens. Anytime a former Cardinal plays the Cardinals, he ends up being a star player for whatever reason. It's bizarre. But RBI single by Pham in that 12th inning. Changeup caught a little too much of the zone. Pham jumped on it and drove the runner in. Sometimes the hitter just wins, right? It happens. It's baseball. But yeah, per usual, a former Cardinal torturing the team. Pham's the guy that guns Ciani at home plate. He ties up the game. Shocker that Tommy Pham would step up and do well against the Cardinals. Like I said, the real bummer about this game was that it had to come down to Chris Roycroft because it was a well-pitched game overall. And, to have to get to the last guy on the bench, what do you have? John King left. That was it in the bullpen. And Roycroft, he got beat up by the Pirates on Monday night. Couldn't throw strikes on Wednesday. Walked 2, which set up the walk-off hit by Joey friggin' Bart, who just killed the Cardinals in this series. He goes 5 for 11 with a home run and 4 RBIs. The dude had 6 total hits coming into the series and just 1 RBI. And you would have thought you had a superstar behind the plate for it. Well, I won't even blame DH, I think, was he? But either way, you would have thought you had a superstar in Joey Bart in this game or in the series altogether. And it's a tough series, man. And I know we gave them the excuse that they were exhausted in game 1. They come out and they beat Paul Skeens in game 2, which we're going to talk about here in a moment. But to end the series like this, to have it go 13 innings, for the offense to not come through, to have the base running blunders, to not be able to pull off a victory in this one against the Pirates team, which I feel is not as good as the Cardinals. I look at the roster and I'm sorry, but I don't see how the Pirates are better. I see they've got 2 starting pitchers that are good. Jared Jones, I guess Jared Jones is real good. So 3 starting pitchers that are really good, but I'm not impressed with anything else that's on the roster really. And the Cardinals, in my opinion, should have won the series 2 out of 3. And it didn't happen because of what happened on Wednesday. So very, very tough loss. A gross one. It's going to sit with them too because they don't play again until Friday. But we're going to end on a happy note. Happy thoughts. We're going to talk about Tuesday's win against Skeens and some of the good things that are happening with the Cardinals offense. Well, until Wednesday. We'll get to that next on Locked On Cardinals. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in and helps you out. They're your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. And Monarch Money, it's not just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center that will help you track all your accounts, your investments, spending. All of that is going to happen in one place so you can stop managing your money and start building wealth for the long term. I know it's convenient and easy to order online and get things shipped to your house, whether it's through Amazon or whether it's through things like DoorDash. And so, getting things delivered to your house, it's simple, it's easy, but sometimes you don't realize how much money you're actually spending when you do that with extra fees and such. And that is where Monarch Money can come in and help you budget smarter and save more. And instead of juggling multiple apps to get all this done, you can just use Monarch Money to check your finances, track your spending, and even plan long-term goals. And if you're married, it makes managing money with your partner that much more smoother. You can track shared and personal accounts. You can set goals. You can stay on the same page and do it without the stress. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. Thanks again for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast with our hosts Dominic Martino and Matthew Ane. MLB Fantasy Baseball. We are in week 3 for Fantasy Baseball. I am 2-0 so far during my season. So far this week, it's kind of a barn burner. So far, my pitching is kind of faltering a little bit, but that's where you go when you listen to these guys, because they're going to give you all the hookup on the information about who to pick up on the waivers, who to be dropping, who to be trading for, stuff like that. Check out Locked On Fantasy Baseball on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Paul Skeens, one of the best pitchers in the game, right? Rookie of the year last year. He started the All-Star game. He's 12-4 in his young career. And after Tuesday night, 3 of those 4 losses are to the St. Louis Cardinals. He's now 0-3 for whatever reason. He is now 0-3 in 4 starts against the Birds. And on Tuesday, they touched him up for a career-high 5 runs on 6 hits. Now, in the games they beat him last year, they barely scored, right? So it's hard to put a lot of stock into those 2 victories, but they had a really great approach against him on Tuesday night. They looked fresh compared to Monday night, where they looked like they were half asleep still in the game against the Pirates. But Tuesday night, it looked like they were locked in a little bit. And I'm sure, going up against somebody like Paul Skeens, it'll bring that out of you. You want to step your game up a little bit and show that, hey, nothing, not so bad. We can do this. And they've had a good approach for most of the season. Last year, there was just so many at-bats where these guys would step up there and they would just look lost or confused. And this year, outside of the early struggles of Mason Wynn and what's going on with Wilson Contreras, the guys have looked like they just are better prepared and are the ones in control during their at-bats. They're not chasing as much. It doesn't look like I'm just hoping to hit the ball anymore. It's the other way around now. It seems like the opposing pitcher, who seemed like they were always dictating what was going to happen in the at-bats last year, it hasn't happened nearly as much this year, very rarely, which has been very refreshing, because one of the reasons why last year was so miserable, despite having a winning record, was that when you saw a game and if the Cardinals fell behind 3-0, you felt like the game was over. You didn't have any faith that they were going to be able to climb out of the hole. Even if the pitching staff held that team scoreless the rest of the way, there was no trust that they would be able to put up 3 runs. You knew that they were going to lose 3-2. You just knew it was going to happen. But now, when they come up to the plate, the Cardinals, again, outside of what happened on Wednesday, they've been working counts, taking strong at bats, they're getting on base, and to be able to do it the way they did it against Paul Skeens on Tuesday night, it's impressive. It's impressive. You would hope that would have carried over into the game on Wednesday. It didn't. The biggest hit in the game on Tuesday against Skeens, though, Victor Scott II. 2-run triple to the gap in right center in the third, which put the guys up 2-0. Victor Scott II has been incredibly impressive in the early going. I had a poll question up about asking, outside of what Ivan Herrera had been doing before he got hurt, which Cardinal player had impressed you the most with what they've been doing early on. And the vote was in a landslide for Victor Scott II. It's a far cry from what we saw last year when he was up with the team, where it looked like he just didn't trust what he was doing at the plate. And, even after he went back down to the minors, his numbers in the minors last year were not great by any means. So to see him come to camp this year with a purpose and basically hit his way onto the roster, and not only just to get on the roster, hit his way into the starting center field job. You know, it was only a couple of weeks ago where on this show, we're sitting here discussing whether or not who's going to be in center field. Is it going to be Donnie, Newt, and Walker as the starting outfield? Because you were worried about the offense for Michael Ciani. You're like, dude, can you do that? Can you put him out there again and have him hit 190 and be okay with that? And Scott made the decision very, very easy. Scott said, I got this, and did pretty much everything you could possibly do to impress the coaching staff and the ownership and the team, and to earn that spot and keep it going here in the regular season. Tuesday's game, 2 for 5. He had the 2-run triple. He also had an opposite field double, had another hit and a stolen base, which was his 5th of the season in Wednesday's marathon game, and is now hitting 286. He's got a home run. He's got 7 ribbies. He's got 5 stolen bases. Been pretty darn good in the outfield as well. Pretty much outstanding in every facet of the game for the Cardinals so far. Meanwhile, Michael Ciani, who was the starter most of last year, has been relegated to a defensive replacement and a pinch runner for the most part, which is honestly the best role for him. If you're going to keep him on the roster, that's the only thing you can really do with him. He's getting a spot start here and there, but that's his role. Jordan Walker, he's looked much better. You know, that big pinch hit RBI on Wednesday. Brendan Donovan, he's been red hot, hitting 375 on the year. He actually had the batting average for 400 after his first hit in Wednesday's game before going 0 for 4 after that. But he's been on fire in the early going. Nato's had a nice start. He's at 310. Burleson's at 275. Herrera was obviously on a tear before the bone bruise. Thomas Ajacey, since being called up, 455 after Gorman got hurt. The game on Wednesday obviously has cooled some of the stats off a little bit. That took a big bite out of their overall team stats, but you got to like what you've seen so far. So that's a happy thought. I'm also encouraged by the starts that we saw from Sonny Gray on Tuesday and Fedde on Wednesday. I mean, you're not going to bitch and moan about what you saw from those two guys in these 2 games. And, Matthew Liberatore settled in on Monday after a rough couple of innings. I mean, those runs do count. He fell behind 4-0. But at the same time, what he did after that was pretty darn good. Somehow he's got to keep what he was doing there to get the right-handers out consistently. He's got to keep that going from the first pitch of the game. That's really his big issue. Right-handers have hit him well over the years. He's never had a lot of success against them. Carving up left-handers. He's carving them up, which is what made him so good in the bullpen. But right-handers have had their way with him so far. So whatever he figured out after the first couple of innings and started pitching very well on Monday, hopefully he can bottle that up and continue to be that successful. Cardinals have lost 4 extra innings games now. Can't really rewrite history, but if you say split those 2, say you go 2-2, you'd be looking at a 7-5 record right now. And I don't think everybody would be as upset as they are at the moment because they didn't win those games. They've lost all 4, and they're now 5-7. They got a day off on Thursday. The NL East leading Phillies coming to Busch Stadium this weekend with all their sluggers and their stud pitchers. Aaron Nola is supposed to throw. They're going to get Zach Wheeler in this series too. So the offense is going to get tested this weekend. But we're going to go over that series completely and do some fan feedback coming up in our next episode. Thank you again for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. If you haven't already, give us a follow on X at @LO_Cardinals at JD Sports Radio. You can find us on TikTok and Instagram at Locked On Cardinals. Like, subscribe on YouTube, help our channel and love for the Cardinals grow. You guys are the best fans in baseball for a reason. We'll see you next time on Locked On Cardinals.